Hello, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. This is Defub21, and today we have a new trailer for Battlefleet Gothic Armada. It's simply called Overview. I assume it's an overview for the game overall. So without further ado, let's take a look and then I'll let you know what I think.
Peggy 16.
Welcome to Battlefleet Gothic Armada, the new RTS video game adaptation of Games Workshop's classic tabletop game, pitting the Imperium, Chaos, Orcs and Eldar against each other in visceral space battle. The ships of Battlefleet Gothic are miles long, the larger battleships are weighty and perilous. Fight in multiplayer, flanking the enemy, carefully aligning your path with that of the target to launch a salvo of torpedoes, or to violently ram them, or sliding close to expose your broadside cannons and unleash a barrage of heavy fire. Every action has weight and inertia. Mistakes will rarely be left unpunished by your opponent. Maneuvering and positioning in Battlefleet Gothic is one of the many keys to success. Made in Unreal 4, Battlefleet Gothic Armada offers management of every ship composing your fleet, both during and between battles. With different skills and abilities, customize all aspects of your ship, whether it's crew for weaponry or repairs, or new skills such as the Auger Probe or Micro Warp Jump. You'll be able to add more as each ship gains levels. Each faction also has access to 4 different favors, granting both passive and active abilities, also changing the appearance of the ships, marking their elite status. Mixing all of these options allows the player to grant each ship a specific role, enabling commanders to build fleets to match their playstyle and perfectly counter the enemy. Hone multiple playstyles to manage Battlefleet Gothic Armada's various game modes. Convoy Escort, Space Station Assault, Breakthrough, Data Recovery, Assassinate, and even the classic Planetary Assault. You'll have to select ships that best fit the bill. The campaign in Battlefleet Gothic Armada takes place as you protect the sector from the 12th Black Crusade of Abaddon the Despoiler. Systems in the Gothic sector will be repeatedly attacked by Abaddon's fleets, as well as the brutal Orcs and enigmatic Eldar. Defend them for unique bonuses and watch as the story branches depending on your choices. Battlefleet Gothic is coming to PC at the end of March.
Well, that was certainly a trailer. First plus point for it, it's clearly all in-game footage. That's, or at least overwhelmingly appears to be in-game footage, so that's a plus, gives you an idea of what the game looks and plays like. It very much, it's a space-based RTS. Those games, like certainly big-budget RTS games, are relatively thin on the ground compared to back in my day when they were 10 a penny on PC. And space-based ones where you control spaceships and combat, again, there are still turn-based strategy games, 4K games out there, plenty of those out there, but real-time strategy games of that kind are much less common to garden. In terms of what kind of, there are 2 kind of core groups really for these games, space-based games. You've got your Star Trek Armada games, which are said we control spaceships, but they're in space, but they're effectively on a 2-dimensional plane, or you have them where you're able to move your ships in 3-dimensional space, like in the Homeworld series. This clearly is part of the latter, where effectively you're moving them around in a 2-dimensional plane, just like you would in the real board game, which I have never played, but I was around Games Workshop shops at the time Battlefield Gothic, not necessarily when it first came out, but when it was re-released. I think, I cannot honestly off the top of my head remember if I'm just imagining that or not, but it looks, again, the trailer gives you a good look at it. The whole ramming thing for other ships looks cool. The ability to customize your individual ships, set crew, set your crew, or maybe get unique crew characters you can assign to each ship to boost particular areas like repair, weapons, and so on. That looks good. You've got a variety of factions. My guess will be the Space Marines will be the jack of all trades, and then you'll have Chaos and the Orcs and the Eldar, and they'll all effectively be different from that base core, which is the Space Marines, in terms of how they play, how they handle. I would imagine the Eldar will be all kind of long-range precision beam weapons and things like that, and the Orcs will be, being the Orcs, large numbers and kind of close-quarter swarm tactics and ramming and whatnot, and Chaos will be something else as well. I can't, off the top of my head, I just can't think what it is. I never really played Chaos much when I played Warhammer 40k, so I'm not really sure how that faction would translate. I'm not sure how that faction would translate to a space-based RTS, but I'm sure they'll come up with something like ships with tentacles on them or something, who knows. But it looks good enough. The voiceover work is okay. Clearly not a professional. Someone from the staff or something who was picked. Maybe they're just, out of the development team working on it. They were found to be one of the better spoken people, better pronunciation and whatnot. Clearer, speaking, easy to understand. Maybe that was why they were given the job. Maybe that's the case. Maybe it isn't. It's a bit suspicious. It's now March the 11th. Yes, it was February, it's now March, and it's still very, on the Steam page, it's still very inspecific as to the exact launch date. It just says March, so we still don't know when it's coming. It's currently, I think it's 10% off, so you can get it for, again, in my neck of the woods, €35 on Steam, or $34.99 on Steam. Hopefully we'll see some reviews before this comes out. I did like Star Trek Armada, the first one. The second one, I think they went in a wrong direction in a few too many areas. But they were still, certainly Star Trek, I think the original Star Trek Armada was one of the best, and I think it was one of the best selling, if not the best selling Star Trek game ever made. So I do like my real-time strategy games. Strategy games set in space where you control spaceships, where they move in three-dimensional space like Homeworld, or on a 2D plane like this game, are relatively thin on the ground. So if it gets good reviews, I'd certainly be interested. And I am kind of familiar with the kind of Warhammer 40k universe to a degree. Played it for a while back in the day, not very successfully, mind you, but I did play it. So it looks good. Again, it gives you a good idea what the final game will actually look like, what it will be representative of in terms of its visuals. I might buy it. I'm now, let's quick check. As complete side note, I am now a grand total of 91 hours into Fallout 4, and with no end in sight, just wandering around. I won't give any spoilers for the story for anyone who hasn't played it yet, but I'm not that far into the game at all. It's all rather ridiculous. How long I'll take to complete that, I don't know. But if I have the time, I've also got XCOM 2. I have to go back to Witcher 3. And these giant open-ended RPGs will be the end of me. But certainly, it's definitely, this trailer has put it on this game on my radar. Again, the voiceover work isn't great, but again, the person clearly isn't a professional, and they're not a professional voiceover artist, so that's not a great shock. But it looks good, and I do like these kind of real-time strategy games. I'll wait for the reviews, and hopefully if those reviews are out before the game is released, if they're good, and I can pick it up for £35, which these days a lot of games on Steam, big budget PC ones, can be £60 for €35. That's a pretty good deal, but we'll have to wait and see. But for the time being, this is Defub21. If you like this video, please like it. If you'd like to follow me on Twitter, you can look me up on Twitter as Sheehy, SheehyDA, as in Da, Younger, Younger, one word, Sheehy Da Younger, as in Pit the Elder, Pit the Younger. That was the joke I was going for. You can follow me on Twitter if you want, and if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do so. I like looking at my subscriber number going from laughably pathetic to slightly less laughably pathetic. Anyway, this is Defub21 signing off. Toodaloo.